The morning air carried a faint chill as Daniel Parker walked down the sidewalk toward Eastview Middle School, the sun barely rising behind a sheet of pale clouds. Another day of volunteering, another day of trying to hold his life together one piece at a time. His backpack strap dug into his shoulder, but he didn't complain. The school needed the help, and the extra hours he earned, while small, added up just enough to keep the lights on at home for him and his daughter, Mia. He pushed the auditorium door open with his elbow and found the janitor closet key exactly where he always left it, tucked into a rusting metal box near the stage. The school's early morning quiet always soothed him. It reminded him of the hours before dawn, when Mia used to wake up as a toddler and climb onto his lap just to watch cartoons until he had to go to work. Back then, life felt simple despite the struggle. He dragged a rolling cart of lighting equipment toward the aisle. The upcoming talent show meant long hours, lights to adjust, sound cables to check, old bulbs to replace. Ms. Reed, the music teacher, had been overwhelmed for days, and Daniel didn't mind stepping in. He liked feeling useful, needed. He set the first stand on the stage and tightened the clamp, wiping sweat from his brow. The building heater hadn't kicked in yet, so the stage lights helped warm the cold air. As he worked, a faint echo reached him. Something soft, something alive, a hum. It floated down the hallway, gentle, controlled, the kind of voice someone sang only when they thought no one was listening. Daniel paused, holding a screwdriver midair, listening. There it was again, a soft cascade of notes, fragile but perfectly in tune. He set the screwdriver down quietly and followed the sound. The hallway lights flickered slightly. This part of the school was old, always needing repairs. At the far end, near the row of faded blue lockers, he saw her. A girl, small and thin, maybe 12 or 13. Her sweater was oversized, sleeves practically covering her hands. She sat with her knees pulled to her chest, a notebook open on her lap. Her hair fell over her face as she hummed, completely unaware she was being watched. Daniel didn't want to startle her, so he spoke gently. "You've got a beautiful voice." The girl froze instantly, the humming dying on her lips. She snapped her notebook shut and hugged it to her chest. I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to bother anyone." "Bother? Not at all," Daniel assured softly. "If anything, you made my morning a little better." She looked uncertain, like she wasn't used to compliments. "I'm Daniel," he added. "I work with the drama and stage stuff." She nodded slightly. "I'm Lena. Nice to meet you, Lena." He smiled. "Do you sing a lot?" "No," she said quickly. "Not really." But her voice, her real voice, had told a different story. "You sound like someone who practices," he said. "Someone who cares." Her eyes darted away. "It's just something I do." Quietly. Before he could ask more, footsteps echoed behind them, loud, mocking. A group of kids rounded the corner, 3 boys and 1 girl, all wearing the same arrogant smirk Daniel had seen too many times in middle school hallways. "Oh look," one boy snorted, "it's Mouse Girl again." Lena's grip on her notebook tightened. She tried to shrink into herself. "Hey, do the squeaky song." Another boy taunted, pitching his voice ridiculously high. The girl in the group laughed cruelly. "Maybe she's finally practicing for the talent show. Imagine her squeaking in front of everyone." Daniel stepped forward calmly but firmly, placing himself between them and Lena. "That's enough," he said in a tone he reserved for serious moments. "Move on." The kids rolled their eyes. "She can't sing anyway," the girl huffed. "Everyone knows that." "Enough," Daniel repeated, sharper this time. Reluctantly, the group walked away, still snickering as their footsteps faded. When he turned back, Lena was already standing, notebook clutched tight. "Thank you," she whispered. "You don't have to thank me," he said. "No kid deserves that." But her eyes told him she wasn't sure she believed that. She hurried away before he could say anything more. He stood there, watching her disappear around the corner, wondering why someone with a voice like hers would look like she'd spent her life being told to stay silent. That afternoon, he found himself mentioning Lena's voice to Ms. Reed, who had been frantically taping performer lists to the walls. "You heard her sing." Ms. Reed nearly wilted with hope. "Daniel, we need another vocalist for the talent show. Half the kids are too shy, and the other half can't carry a tune." "She's got talent," Daniel said honestly. "Real talent." Ms. Reed threw her hands up dramatically. "Wonderful. Incredible. Except she'll never agree. I've asked her to join choir. She refuses every time. Maybe she just needs someone to believe in her," he said. Ms. Reed smirked. If you get her to sign up, I'll bake you enough brownies to feed a small country. Daniel chuckled, but later that day he found himself walking toward the library again. He tapped on the door and peeked in. There she was, Lena, sitting at the same corner table, drawing curving patterns around musical notes in her notebook. The drawings looked like melodies woven into art. "Hey, Lena," he said, keeping his distance so she wouldn't feel intimidated. "Can I talk to you for a second?" She looked up nervously. "Did I do something wrong?" "No," he said quickly. "Not at all. I just wanted to ask, have you ever thought about singing for the school?" Her face drained of color instantly. No, I don't do that. I can't. I'm not here to pressure you," Daniel said. "But your voice is special." She swallowed hard. "People laugh at me. They laugh because they don't understand you," he said. "But what you have, they can't take that away." Her eyes glistened for a moment, but she blinked it back. "I freeze in front of people," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I know I would." "Then we start small," Daniel replied. "Just you and me. No stage. No audience." She hesitated, torn between fear and something else, hope. "Why would you help me?" she finally asked. "Because someone helped my daughter once," he said. "I never forgot it." Something in that answer softened her expression. "Okay," she whispered. "One practice. Just one." That was all he needed. The next day, the auditorium was empty except for the two of them. Lena stood in the center, her knees trembling visibly. "Just a line," Daniel said gently. "Doesn't have to be loud." She nodded nervously, took a breath, and sang. Just that one line that changed everything. Her voice floated into the air like a secret melody that had been waiting years to be heard. Soft, yes, but pure and aching with emotion. Daniel didn't understand the song, but he felt it deeply. When she finished, she opened her eyes timidly. "That," Daniel whispered. "Lena, that was beautiful." She looked away, embarrassed. But he saw it, the tiny spark of pride flickering behind her fear. And so, they kept practicing. Every day, every lunch break, every quiet moment after school. Sometimes Mia joined them, offering encouragement. Sometimes kids peeked in and whispered cruel things. But Lena kept going, her confidence blooming inch by inch. Until the video happened. A group of students secretly recorded one of Lena's practice sessions and posted it online with mocking captions. Lena found the video the day before the talent show. Daniel discovered her sitting on the stage steps, hugging her knees, tears streaming silently down her cheeks. "They said I sound stupid," she whispered. "That I think I'm some kind of star." Daniel sat beside her, heart aching. "They're wrong," he said softly. "You're brave, you're talented, and you're not alone." She shook her head. "What if they laugh at me tomorrow?" "They won't," he said. "And even if they do, I'll be right there." She lifted her head slightly. "Will you stand backstage with me?" He nodded. "Always." The day of the talent show arrived. Parents filled the auditorium. Students buzzed with excitement and gossip. Teachers hurried back and forth. When Lena's name was announced to open the show, whispers spread across the room. "She's actually singing. This is gonna be funny." Daniel watched behind the curtain as Lena stepped onto the stage, shaking violently. She stood at the microphone, frozen. A few kids giggled. She closed her eyes. And then, she sang. And the room fell silent. Completely silent. Her voice wasn't loud, but it didn't need to be. It carried weight, emotion, truth. Every note tugged at the heart. Every breath told a story. By the time she reached the last line, even the kids who mocked her stared in awe. When she finished, for a moment, no one moved. Then the applause began, slowly, then louder, then thunderous. Lena's eyes filled with tears, this time from joy. When she stepped off the stage, Daniel was waiting. "You did it," he whispered. I really did," she breathed. "You silenced them," he said with a smile. She hugged him tightly. "Thank you, for hearing me." And for the first time in her life, she didn't feel invisible. That night after the show, the world felt different for Lena, even though she walked home the same way she always did, head lowered, backpack straps tight in her fists. But this time, something new pulsed inside her. Something warm, something alive, confidence. She didn't dare call it that yet. Confidence was something other girls had. Girls who laughed easily, whose clothes fit, whose family cars waited outside the school. She wasn't that girl, but after the talent show, after the applause, real applause, something had changed. She reached the small apartment where she lived with her grandmother. The door creaked open as she stepped inside, trying to be quiet. The living room smelled faintly of mint tea in the old wooden cupboard. Her grandmother, Mrs. Thompson, sat in her worn reclining chair, knitting with trembling fingers. She looked up with a soft, tired smile. "How was the show, sweetheart?" she asked. Lena hesitated. She wanted to tell her everything, every note she sang, every face in the crowd, the silence that had fallen over the entire room. She wanted to tell her how Daniel had stood backstage for her, how he had nodded at her right before she opened her mouth, how it felt like she was singing her heart open and the world finally listened. But she said only, "It went okay, Grandma." "Just okay?" Her grandmother raised an eyebrow. "I've seen that look before." Something happened. Lena couldn't help it. She smiled. A real smile, small but bright. "I sang," she whispered. Mrs. Thompson's knitting needles paused in midair. "You sang on stage?" Lena nodded shyly. Her grandmother leaned back in wonder. "Oh, sweetheart, your mother would have been so proud." Lena's throat tightened. Her mother used to sing, beautiful, loud, fearless. But life had taken her too soon, leaving Lena with a voice she never felt worthy of using. Until now. Her grandmother reached out and gently patted her hand. "Come sit. Tell me everything." And Lena did, slowly. Haltingly, but she told her. For the first time, she spoke of her singing without shame. And her grandmother listened with eyes full of pride. Across town, Daniel returned to his small apartment, where Mia was waiting on the couch with a bowl of cereal, her usual late snack. "How'd it go?" she asked excitedly. Daniel dropped into the old recliner, exhaustion settling in. But he couldn't stop smiling. "She did it," he said. "She really did it." Mia grinned. "I knew she would. She's amazing." Daniel chuckled. "Yeah, she is." Mia leaned forward. "Dad, you helped her. You helped someone who needed you." Daniel looked at his daughter, the one he'd raised alone since she was 2. He'd spent years worrying he wasn't enough, that he wasn't doing enough, that one wrong step would break the fragile balance of their lives. But tonight, he felt something different. Pride, not in himself, but in the girl who had stood up on that stage and proved everyone wrong. "I think she was always capable," he said. "She just needed a little push." Mia nodded. "Everyone needs someone sometimes." Daniel smiled softly. "Yeah, they do." That night, he set aside the stack of unpaid bills for a moment. Just long enough to breathe. Just long enough to feel like life wasn't always about struggle, sometimes it was about moments like this. But life has a way of testing people right when things seem to be turning around. The next week, whispers began spreading through the school. Not all good. Some students praised Lena, genuinely impressed. Others were jealous, confused, or irritated that the quiet girl had stolen the spotlight. But the worst came from the same group of kids who mocked her before. "She only sounded good because they fixed her voice," one boy sneered in the hallway. "Yeah, like auto-tune or whatever," another laughed. "No way she sings like that." The girl in their group scoffed loudly. "Everyone's making such a big deal. She just got lucky." Lena overheard it one afternoon. She froze mid-step, her notebooks pressed to her chest. For a moment, all the confidence she had gained cracked like thin ice. Their words dug into her, reopening old wounds. She lowered her head and hurried to the nearest empty classroom. Daniel found her minutes later, sitting alone by the window, her eyes red. "You okay?" he asked, sitting beside her. She wiped her face quickly. "Yeah, I'm fine. You don't have to lie," he said. She took a shaky breath. "They said I got lucky. That I didn't really sing well." Daniel leaned back slightly, thinking. "Do you know why they say that?" She looked at him, hurt and confused. "Because they're scared," he said softly. "Scared that someone they underestimated did something they can't." Lena stared at him, unsure whether to believe it. "Let me tell you something," Daniel continued. "People will always try to reduce what they don't understand. You didn't just sing. You made them feel something. And that scares people more than anything." Lena swallowed hard. "But what if they're right?" "They're not," he said firmly. "You earned every clap, every cheer, every second of silence." She looked away. "I want to believe that." "You will," Daniel said gently. "Just give yourself time." The days passed. Slowly, Lena grew more comfortable, walking the halls with a little more confidence, talking to classmates who suddenly wanted to know her. But she still saw the mocking looks from a few students, still felt the weight of their judgment. One afternoon, Daniel found her alone on the stage again, this time not practicing, but sitting cross-legged in the middle, humming softly to herself. The auditorium lights cast a warm glow over her, like she belonged there. "You ever think about singing again?" Daniel asked, lightly. She startled but smiled. "Maybe." You know the school choir would love to have you. She shook her head. I'm not ready for something big. Daniel nodded, respecting her pace. Whenever you are, I'll help. She looked at him with more trust than before. Thank you, always. But life was about to throw another curve, one that neither of them saw coming. 2 weeks later, the principal announced a district-wide music showcase. Schools from all over the area would participate. A bigger stage, a bigger audience, and more opportunities. Ms. Reed was ecstatic. This could put our school on the map. She declared during rehearsal, we need our strongest performers. All eyes turned to Lena. She froze. I can't do that, she stammered. Yes, you can, Ms. Reed insisted. Your talent deserves to be shared. The murmurs around the room made Lena shrink into herself. Later, backstage, Lena cornered Daniel with panic in her eyes. I can't, she whispered. A whole auditorium full of strangers. I'll fail. No, Daniel said calmly. You'll grow. She shook her head. You don't understand. I'm not strong like that. You're stronger than you think, he said. And even if you're scared, it's okay. Courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about singing anyway. Her throat tightened. What if they don't like me? Daniel looked her in the eyes. Then we deal with it together. She stared at him for a long moment. Then, with a trembling breath, she nodded slightly. Okay, she whispered. It was the bravest word she had ever said.